This course is brought to you by AppyPie as part of our Academy series.
Now that you've gotten a chance to play with the theme and get your hands on it, I want to explain a little bit about how Thrive Architect works. So the way this tool works is the sidebar is going to be your best friend. And on the right-hand side is the visual editor. So here is always going to be what your site looks like live. And the sidebar is where we can add new elements. Or if we click on an element, so right now I'm clicking on heading, we can change the different settings for that element. And all of these settings you see here are going to be common for different elements. So for example, right now we clicked on the heading, and you'll see layout and position, background style, borders and corners. And now I'm going to click on an image. And as you can see, there's layout and position, borders and corners, and some other similar ones. But there also are some different ones. So for example, we have image options and image effects. And we did not have that when we clicked on the text. So that's why this is a tool that can seem more complicated when you're just getting started. Because with every element, you might think that, oh, there's 10 new boxes, I have to learn how they work. But really, there aren't that many different options. A lot of these are going to be the same options you see on every single element. But then for each element, if there's any specific options, such as button options, then you'll see that when you click on the element. So again, this is something that if you're just in your head too much and you're just listening to me talk, you're going to forget. And it could feel overwhelming. But as soon as you start playing with this yourself and you open up some of these options, it's going to make a lot of sense and it's going to click really quickly. The next thing I want to talk to you about is hierarchy. So the way this works is you put items inside of other items. For example, right here I've clicked on the heading. And this heading is inside of another element called the background section. And background sections give you a lot of control. So you can say, I want everything inside of this background section to only be 700 pixels wide. Or you could say, I want the color of this background section to be red or green. And there's a lot of other things you can do here. Another really common one is layout and position. So if you want to add more padding to the top of your background section, then you can just drag it out like this. And if you want more margin, you can drag it out like this. And I'm just clicking and dragging up or dragging down. Or of course, you can type in the exact number of pixels that you want. And one thing that I always got confused with is what is the difference between margin and padding? And rather than show you with a diagram picture, I recommend you just open up Thrive Architect and add 100 padding, see what happens, add 100 margin, see what happens, and you'll immediately understand the difference. And a few other options you have on your sidebar here are if you want to edit for a mobile device, or at least see what your website looks like on a mobile device, you can click on this button and then click on tablet, or this button and click on mobile. Now, Thrive Architect does some really cool stuff when it comes to editing for mobile devices that I'll share with you in later videos. But for now, I just want to help you get familiar with this plugin. So I'm going to go back to desktop. And then here, this button will take you to page setup, which you can also find by clicking on the gear icon and clicking on template setup. And you just have all these different options about exporting this landing page so you can reuse it on a different page on your site or on a different website altogether if it's running Thrive Architect. And then you have some other options in the settings. You can edit your own HTML, you can add custom CSS, and do a few other things. And finally, when you click on more options, you'll see the undo redo button, a revision manager. So if you wanted to step back, say 5 changes ago and revise that, you can do that. and then exit Thrive Architect, which will take you back to the WordPress dashboard. And finally, a preview button, which is something that I use very often. And this just shows you what the website actually looks like live. And one thing that's important is whenever you make changes that you're happy with, is to click on the Save button, because Thrive Architect will not automatically save for you. And Thrive Architect is a very visual builder. So a lot of times just by hovering over stuff, you get different options. Such as if you wanted to drag different items around and put them in different areas, you can do that depending on the element. You can also copy items, delete them, and do some other cool things depending on the element. So now take some time before you move on to the next video with what you know now and play around with this tool. Start to get familiar with it, and don't worry if you feel like it's overwhelming at first, because with time it's going to become very natural. And that's where the magic happens, when you can use this tool just like any other tool you're really familiar with and start building incredible websites.